All right, there we go. We are live, gentlemen. With only a few hiccups here and there, but welcome everyone to episode 25 of Practical Chrome, recording live on Tuesday, June 10th, 2014. I'm pretty sure today is to 10th, isn't it? It's 10th, right? Yeah. I always get that wrong. Okay, yeah, it's 10th. Okay, my trusty shelf there told me what date it was. Um, Again, everyone, welcome to episode 25. And of course, we want to thank our sponsor, the Effective Group. Do you need? Uh, do you need? That's terrible. Let me get everything in place. Do you need a fantastic website that not only looks great on mobiles and tablets, but also gets you selling online? Then the Effective Group is the company for you. To find out more about Effective Group, view their portfolio, and read about their successes, visit effective-group.com. Effective Group, thanks again to them. Now, of course, this episode is titled "I Need a Shoulder," right? Now that's talking about the fact that working with Chrome and Chrome OS, sometimes you need a place to find help. Where are you gonna whose shoulder can you lean on when you got something wrong, right? If you're on other OSs, sometimes there's support numbers to call, or large groups and communities that you can get a hold of. Well, we'd like to share those with you today on what communities you can find for Google Chrome and Chrome OS. Of course, you are watching Practical Chrome, which is the podcast dedicated to everyday Chrome users, where we give you the latest tips, news, and reviews on everything Google Chrome. Do you have a Chromebook? Do you use the Chrome browser on any device out there, whether it be iOS, Android, anything? Literally, it's on everything, anything at all. Then you've hit the right podcast, where we broadcast directly from Chromebooks when we can, Chrome boxes, Chromebooks, or we use Chrome to do the Hangout on a Windows machine maybe. We try to do as much as we can inside of Chrome, keep it all Chromey here on Practical Chrome. Again, this is a video cast and a podcast, so you can catch us as a podcast as well as a video cast every Tuesday at 10:10. And of course, I'd like to welcome my co-hosts, James Welbes and Craig Tumblison. James, how are you doing this evening, sir?
Doing good, John. How are you?
I am excellent. Having a good day. And Craig, how about you, sir?
I'm great, John.
Hey, that's awesome. See, look at that. Everybody's good. Now, as you all know, we've actually had some a little bit of time off, right? One of the reasons I decided to need a shoulder was because last week my family and friends and Craig and James as well were my shoulder to lean on because I was sick. I do apologize that we were out a whole week there, but I definitely needed a shoulder because I was down and out, man. I got a whooping up a cold, and then just with all the other stuff on top, and you have to keep moving forward, even when you don't feel good. So with everything that hit, I was pretty down and out. So again, thanks to everybody, my family and friends, James, Craig, you guys were awesome. You guys definitely were very supportive of my sickness, and I appreciate that. So again, everybody, welcome back to Practical Chrome. And again, we'd like to thank our sponsor. Again, the sponsor has been with us now for, I think this is the third week. This is the Effective Group. And again, if you haven't heard of them, they're a UK based company. They're making the internet work for you, right? So based in the UK, established 15 years and working across the world, you're really in safe hands with Effective Group, right? Because their stats show that they can increase the turnover or query rate for a website ninefold. Now remember, and Effective Group's services include website design, SEO management, PPC management, product listing ads management, social media management. And remember, to find out more about Effective Group, remember they can do tons for you, right? They can definitely make your presence known out there on the web, especially with that thing I talked about just a few minutes ago about the. I really love this. I'm harping on this, but I really like it. I think they've done a really good job. Again, if you go to their website and look at their success stories, their portfolio, they do this thing with the mobile apps where the mobile web where the page looks the same on everything because it actually adjusts to the screen size. So instead of it being mobile in one area and looking kind of different, a little different. I mean, colors might be the same, but some people have like a mobile site versus like a site that all looks the same, but just gets smaller and adjusts the size of the screen. They do that really, really well. So definitely check them out if you're looking for an online presence. And again, to find out more about Effective Group, view their portfolio and read about the success stories I just talked about. It's effective-group.com. And again, a big thank you to them for that sponsorship. It's been really great. Now, James and Craig, again, thanks again for this last week. But you know what happened? There was actually 2 good news weeks while we were away, right? So there is a lot to talk about. I mean, like, I've got 25 tabs open showing the different news stories slash apps I want to talk about. It's crazy. There's a ton of stuff going on, and I think what we'll do is we're going to jump into the news like crazy people, and let everybody know what's going on in the Chrome world. Right now, the first thing up, and I know that I don't think we've had a chance to talk about it, but I wanted to bring it up because it did happen. And it's been fixed, and then the latest release of Stable will fix it as well, get it a little bit more fixed. And I didn't realize it until I read the article, really went through it because I wasn't sure what it was. But there was a bug that hit Stable, and it was a trackpad issue after the latest Stable OS update. And I realized, Craig, that I had talked to you about this when my beta was updated. You remember? I think I might have hit both of you, but I think Craig, you and I talked about it, where it was the tap issue. Craig, do you remember that when I was like, "Hey, my tap to click is gone"?
Yes, I do. Yes, you were very inconvenienced by that.
I was upset because, as many people know, whether you have a trackpad on your Windows device or on your Apple device or on your Chrome device, if you hard press the trackpad, it makes a click noise. But on Chrome OS and I'm sure on the others, if you light tap it, you're going to get, you're not going to need the click noise. It's just going to go. So that I was missing that, and Craig really quickly just pointed me to settings and said, "John, just turn it off and turn it back on again or whatever." And you didn't even know about the bug yet either. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. I actually found out about the bug last week when one of my clients notified me that the trackpad was acting a little weird, and it happened after an update. So I went digging, and a few days later, Joey over at OMG Chrome published an article saying, yeah, this is an issue. And like you mentioned, it has been fixed as of today. Another stable channel update actually went out today. If you haven't got it yet and you want to force it, just open a new tab, type in Chrome, whack whack help, and it'll force an update. So if you're sitting on milestone 34 and you own a device that's affected and you're having some trouble, just do that and it'll force an update and it should be resolved.
Now, I've never heard colon whack whack. Is that what people are saying now?
I think that's the old way to say it, actually. Or slash.
I've heard old people say it.
It's the way I was taught.
Okay, James. Now, had you hit this? Because I think you're unstable on some of your devices, right?
I'm on stable on 2 of them and beta on the other, and so far I haven't seen that issue on any of mine. I have the Acer C720 on beta, the Acer C720P on stable, and the HP 14 on stable, and none of them have had that issue. I've definitely seen complaints about it out there on the interwebs, but haven't seen it myself yet.
So, I had seen that one time, and I kind of wanted to bring it really quickly because Joey did a really good article on it, because he made a couple of good points. One was how to turn it, get it back to working, which was basically just flipping the flag a couple times, right? The little radio button. You just flip it a couple times and boom, it's working again. But also how to report it to Google, by doing the Alt-Shift-I. Is it I or L? I can't remember. It's I, right? I think it's I. Or is it L? No, I. L. L? L. It's L. Excuse me. So he made a note at the bottom where he heard from a Google source that effectively they were going to receive that update, which Craig just talked about. But also he makes the point about how bugs are supposed to be caught in beta, and that's the whole point of beta, and that's how, right? So it wasn't something that was, he kind of points that out. And for it to slip in is highly unusual, and the fact that Google does do a very good job of trying to get rid of those, and especially because it allows us to be on the beta channel. So it's one of those things, we're one of those people that goes in and goes, hey, there's something wrong. And we hit that, Alt-Shift-L and report it way before it gets to stable. So it was just a little bug that slipped through the cracks there.
Just to jump in, it's Alt-Shift-I.
Oh,
It is Alt-Shift-I, and it wasn't just a tap to click. Some of my clients actually reported just kind of wacky behavior. It just wouldn't respond well. So that's another symptom. Either way, it's fixed now.
there you go. Alt-Shift-I, everybody. Alt-Shift-I, not L, not L. Now next up is some cool Chromecast news. And this is the fact that they're going to be casting to multiple countries now. They're going to be offered in Australia, Belgium, Japan, Korea, Portugal, Switzerland. I mean, it's really getting out there. And there's another thing out there about the fact that, let me see if I can find it. I wanted to put them together. Chromebooks are also coming to 9 countries. They're coming to New Zealand, the Philippines, Norway, Denmark, Mexico, Chile, and coming soon, Belgium, Spain, and Italy, which is just crazy. The fact that Chrome and Chromecast, the fact that Google's really doing a good push out there, and also my brother will now be able to get the Chromecast out in Australia, so I'm sure he'll be happy. Although they were the first ones to get the HP 11, the new variant, the non-Google model, so they were the lucky ones, I guess. Any comments on that, guys? I mean,
Any comments on what exactly?
on the expansion of Google into the world.
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. That's good. So there you go. Craig, what about you, sir?
I'm still waiting on Google to expand Project Loon back here in the United States.
And fiber.
And fiber. But yeah, this is great news. Great news.
Look, both Fiber and Loon have to push against 2 establishments: local government, who sometimes are not working for their local people, and the already there conglomerates of ISPs, which are usually 1 or 2 that don't want anybody else in. So they don't own the local government, but it's tough. So what I do is I really praise the cities that have already got it, and their local governments, their city councils, stuff like that, have really done a great job of allowing in Google. So big praise to them and to Google. But all right, so HP officially lifts the lid on the 2nd generation Chromebook. Now, if you're watching the podcast there, I actually skipped over part of that headline on OMG Chrome because it says officially lifts lid on 14-inch Android laptop too. So I guess that's kind of newsworthy for us as well, because that's gonna have Chrome on it, as well as the fact that Joey makes a comment here on one of the pictures, which I'll display on the screen here. But first, let's jump into the HP Chromebook 11, which, Craig, you've got the the by Google model, right? Innards are almost the same. Joy actually reports that it's got a dual ARM processor, clocked at 1.7, 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigabyte, and then I think the screen isn't the IPS, if I'm not mistaken. And plus, it's not as pretty. It looks just like the 14, so it's not as nice. So I know that neither one of us have had a hold of this, right? But at least now HP is kind of coming out and saying that it exists. But what are your guys' thoughts on the fact that this is now out now, and is the by Google model going to go away? I wonder if they're going to just kind of let that one go. Craig, I know that you really like your 11. I mean, you take it to school every day. You really enjoy it.
Yeah, and by school, I'm in college, not 8th grade. I love my HP 11.
What? School? You take it to school every day. You take it to class. Is that what I should have said? To class? I apologize.
Sure. To courses, onto campus, whatever phrasing you like. It doesn't matter. I'll take it anywhere. I will. I love it. It really is visually appealing. It's the type of laptop you take out of your case, and you're immediately swarmed by the Apple people asking, what Apple product is that? And that's just a good feeling to have. It really is. I kind of get why people buy MacBooks. But yeah, it's a brilliant device, and this HP 11 kind of feels like a knockoff, to be honest. It has a worse screen. It completely ditches the outer casing, which really kind of sells the original HP 11. And to top it all off, they've taken the speakers out from underneath the keyboard, which is one of my #1 features. So it really does kind of feel like a knockoff at this point. I know James will have some choice words to share too, so I'm not going to be as critical. But I'm just kind of confused, to be honest. I'm left a little disappointed in HP, and I really hope this is not their future direction when it comes to Chrome OS.
James, what about your thought? And again, Craig, I apologize about the school comment, but James, what are your negative comments? Fire, James, go.
Well, I think I already ranted about this a little bit a couple weeks ago, but I'm always up for ranting about crappy products, and I just don't understand it. I mean, they took all the good features away, and it's like, oh, but it's okay because we also made it more expensive. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all to me why they would take away the screen, take away the look, keep the same crappy processor. They don't give you the cool USB charging anymore, and it's like $30 more expensive or $20 more expensive than the old model. It just doesn't make any sense. There's literally no advantage that I can think of, except maybe it might be a little bit lighter than the other 11. I don't even know. I can't think of one thing about this new 11 that's better than the old 11 that warrants a $20 price increase. It just doesn't. I thought maybe it was a fluke because I know things are priced differently in other countries. I did the conversion when the Australian model was released, and it looked like it was going to be about $400 US. I thought surely when they officially release this in America, it'll be like $300 maybe. No, it's $400 for this ARM processor that looks like a 14. That it's just stupid. I don't understand it. I mean, it's not that it's just there's other devices out there that I personally wouldn't buy, like the original 11, but at least the original 11 makes sense. It has a nice screen. It looks way different from any other Chromebook. It's very aesthetically pleasing. USB charger. It at least makes sense. This new 11 makes no sense at all. I don't understand it.
And I think a lot of people agree with you, James. So, I mean, I like the form factor of the 14, so I mean, I'd be interested to see it, kind of like a little mini-me, right? I get that. But you're right. The fact that they are bumping everything down, not everything, but they're bumping things down, bumping some small things up. They're saying that it gets half an hour better battery life, but half an hour is, kind of marginal when you're talking 8 or 9 hours.
Just get the HP 14. It's $50 cheaper and it's a better machine.
Agreed. All right, so next up, back on the Chromecast. Now, I am not a huge soccer fan, but I understand the importance of this because soccer is huge around the globe. So, for the fact that the ESPN is going to be able to offer the FIFA World Cup matches, and then you're going to be able to broadcast it on your television through your Chromecast, that's pretty awesome. That's more than pretty awesome. That's like really awesome. Now, again, I'm not a huge sports fan, especially when it comes to soccer, but I know that James, you like watching the games on the Chromecast, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Do you watch soccer as well?
I would if I had cable or if ESPN let me cast games on my Chromecast. But up until now, no.
No. I got
That was a bad joke. I don't have cable. I would love to watch it. I like watching soccer, but they don't stream games on Netflix, so I don't get to see them.
I got you. I'm with you. Craig, what about you, sir? Are you into the football at all?
Well, first of all, John, you're correct. It is football, not soccer. And second of all, none of this matters until we get a proper cricket game on the Chromecast. With that said, I have no interest in sports whatsoever. Again, poor joke. We're not strong this week, but that's okay. We'll pick up. Stick with us. Okay, so yeah, I'm not super interested, but this will be a big deal with the World Cup coming up in Brazil. So I'm excited by association. I'm excited for other people that will be excited for this, but I'm not excited for me
I'm excited because I could actually watch soccer now.
Well, see, there you go. This is going to be a doorway into soccer for James, right? He's gonna
John,
be like,
I'm sorry. Can you like explain? Is it just on the computer or is it on Android, iOS? Like, what exactly? How can I stream soccer from ESPN to my Chromecast?
it is an Android. Watch ESPN is a free application available for Android and iOS.
Okay.
So it would be on your Android. Now, I don't know if you can log into their website and then also do the same thing. It doesn't say that here. Now, Joey's the one that, OMG Chrome is the one that I'm reading the article about because I'm not into sports either. Okay? So, don't shoot the messenger who's not into sports. but it does say that more of their sports content will be available, like NBA Finals, NASCAR races. So there you go, James. And then that's all pretty much.
It does require an active cable subscription to ESPN networks.
Oh, active fail. Well, there you go, James.
Cool. So yeah, just to clarify, because there's a couple ESPN apps on the Android store, so if you're searching ESPN, it's going to be the one called Watch ESPN, not the one called ESPN Sports Center.
Correct.
There you go. Now, OMG Chrome does say to watch ABC and Walt Disney are also said to be adding Chromecast support. So more than likely, we'll have to have an active cable subscription.
And I think Disney actually launched theirs already.
Yeah, I think they did too.
So it's just ABC that needs to get on the ball.
Yep. All right. Now on to the conspiracy theorists and all of us, the privacy-minded people, fun-minded folks. When it comes to email, it's not super secure. It's actually one of the lesser of secure things out there because it's so old. But being able to encrypt end-to-end is what people need now, right? So, and there's been technology out there, but when it comes to a web-based email service like Gmail, like Yahoo, like MSN.com, or if they're even around anymore, Outlook.com. Sorry, whatever Microsoft product you're using, or whatever they feel like they need to name themselves today to rebrand and get some people. Being able to encrypt becomes more and more important, especially at that end. So what Google's doing, and I did want to touch on this a little bit. I do know a little bit about this, not a lot, but Chrome Story does a really good job. ChromeStory.com, they've got an article out there about it. Dinsan's got it out there, and it's really good because he hits all the good points that are perfect, right? One of the things is that the project is open source. So if you've been following things like encryption, stuff like that, you'll know that like TrueCrypt just went away, right? That was a very, very, very popular cross-platform encryption tool for data itself. That's gone away. And they were actually being audited to make sure that their code was secure. So this project, right off the jump, is open source, and it's end-to-end encryption. It's a Chrome extension that allows you to encrypt your mail and then send it to somebody, and then they can unencrypt it. So that way Google doesn't even read it. It's encrypted at your browser, and then it goes through. Not that Google reads it, I'm just saying. Just if someone were to be snooping on the line, middleman in the middle, stuff like that. So it actually uses the Open PGP standards. It's like I said, it's being released as a Chrome extension, but yet it's also open source, so that there's going to be a lot of scrutiny to this, right? And of course, some people, even people that love technology, they don't like Google, right? Or they don't love Apple because they see them as very large companies that just want to suck them up and spit them out and use them for whatever needs necessary. And they think that mail is one of the things because, Gmail is one of those things that they offered free and really got going. And then when they started offering the hot word advertising, people were like, ah. So for Google to be doing this, I think is fantastic. James, have you heard of this? Have you heard rumblings of this?
Yeah, and I'm still trying to figure out. Back in March 23rd, the Gmail blog came out and said that they were making a change to to make our email more secure. They're always going to use encrypted HTTPS connection for like from beginning to end. Back in 2010, they already decided to make HTTPS the default, and then earlier this year, apparently they made HTTPS a default everywhere, not just from your browser, but from their server. So when your email bounces from one Gmail server to another Gmail server, that's encrypted. So I'm actually still trying to figure out what exactly this plugin does or extension does that hasn't already been done, since apparently from my computer to your computer, my emails have been encrypted since March already anyways. But I've definitely heard, I've read the Chrome story article and just still trying to figure out exactly what this means.
Well, let me try. I'll do my best. And Craig, I don't know if you've read up on it, but basically SSL is the transmission of the data between two sources, right? It's a handshake. It's an encryption handshake that happens. And what Google said is that they were going to, instead of so you have these certificates and everybody knows who's who, and then it's encrypted, and then when it gets to the other side, it can be unencrypted. But that's only when it's being passed betwixt, right? So when it lands over here, then it's going to be in plain text again, and then when it goes to go somewhere else, what they were doing is inside of Google, they were saying, okay, we're going to use the SSL, internal SSL certificates, so that way we can, I don't know if they're internal or not, they might have actually gotten external ones, but to say even in between two servers, they were going to encrypt them on that path in between the two servers. So again, it was still plain text. Think of it like that. Like it was still a text file. On your machine, it was a text file. Then it was encrypted for a hot second as it passed into the next mail server, and then it was again just a text file. And then when it's sent to your friend, then they receive it, and it's again just a text file. Well, what you're doing on this side now is that you're doing end-to-end, right? So that way, when it starts at your computer, it was a text file, but before it actually goes through the HTTPS connection, it's actually being encrypted at your computer, right? So that way when it lands on the Gmail server, it's still an encrypted file that no one can read. No one, except for the person that you sent it to who has your key, right? So then as it bounces in between Gmail servers, it doesn't even matter if they have encrypted or not. They're use SSL in between them or not. When your friend gets it, he'll again get this weird block of gibberish unless he has the key to unencrypt the data, and then he can now read it. That's what it kind of means.
So are you saying that if I have the extension and I send you an email and you don't have the extension, you're not going to be able to read my email?
That's correct. I haven't. Okay, I won't say it that way, because I would say that more like the intention is that because you're going to need a PGP decryptor. I mean, even if you have the key, unless they came up with, I can't say for sure, but I'm 90% sure you're going to have their extension or something like it, or you're going to have something like a Windows or Linux machine with PGP that can open the email. So, and that would mean that you'd have to just download it locally to a client and then use your keys to open it. So, for regular users, and this is one of the bad things about this, is that if you're going to use if you send it to someone and they don't have the extension, then they can't open it. So, or like I said, or if they're really, really into this, understand how to set it all up. Because for a novice, setting this all up manually is not that easy, right? I mean, you really have to want to do it. So, I believe that that's the case. I'm going to say 90% sure, because it's still right now a in development extension. You can't actually get it in the store. You have to pull it down and install it while you're in dev mode. So it's not exactly easy to set up this yet either, but it is coming. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sounds to me like it's going to be something not really for the average consumer. I probably wouldn't be putting it on my computer, but something for like businesses who are sending emails back and forth and they just want that extra level of encryption. They would have all their users install this extension and then just have that double encryption.
Agreed. That could be something like that. Yes. Craig, have you looked into this at all?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Don't tell me you wrote the article, because that's some.
No, I didn't write the article. So first off, John, you did a fantastic job explaining it. But to water it down, just the basic, SSL means that your connection to Google and Gmail is encrypted. End-to-end means that the message itself is encrypted. So that's the core difference for any unsavvy users that were just completely lost as John was talking. The savvy people, we all knew what John was talking about, but I can see how that might fly over somebody's head. I've looked into this. James, you hit the nail on the head. This is not an end consumer product. This is going to be for people that need the extra security. It probably won't be a business product. This will probably be used for Edward Snowden, for Julian Assange. That's the type of people that are going to use this extension. Those people and the people that are in communities where they're developing open source technology that might be on the radar of the NSA, for example, any group or community that needs to be 100% sure that their communication is encrypted and are probably already using PGP in some form to do it are going to love that they can build that into their email now. This is going to be a convenience for people that are already using the technology. John, you mentioned you weren't sure if you would be able to export your keys. I believe that will be possible. I don't know how well they'll import into standalone applications, but I assume Google's going to go for, as open as possible there. The other big thing to note is that this will actually be part of Google's bug bounty program. So if you're a developer and you find a bug in it that's a potential security flaw, you will get paid for reporting it. So there's your incentive to audit it independently.
John, as far as the private key being exported, in their FAQ, somebody asked, or one of the questions is my public key exported somewhere? When I provide my email address, it says no, the public keys stay local and isn't exported unless you explicitly perform that action. So it makes it sound like there is a way to export it, but it doesn't really go into how.
Well, yeah, I think like what Craig was saying about the fact that since it is using a standard, one of the PGP, the Open PGP standard, it's going to have the ability, I'm sure. Now, I'm basing this not on facts because that's how I roll. I think what Craig said, the assumption is that it is going to be compatible, so that way you can take those keys and bring them down and use them in a local client machine and use a local. Now, I've only seen this in Linux myself, so I can't really talk to a Windows user. But when you set it up on a Linux machine, it's a little bit more straightforward in my mind, right? Now, using Chrome, if you can just get those keys off, then you can just. It's as simple as like Craig said, the convenience of now having it just in Chrome and it being a couple of buttons. I do disagree with you guys a little bit on the fact that it's going to be business and Julian Assange and people like that. Now, I'm not super gung-ho about keeping myself private, right? Because I think that if anybody wants what I have, they're gonna dig hard enough. They're gonna get to it. It's just the way that it is. I do second factor authentication with Gmail on all of my accounts. So now I have like 7 in my G Authenticator tool, like tons of them. So I definitely try my best, but I think that a lot of people are going to want to be more secure, especially when people realize how open email is. It is actually incredibly open. It is very much not secure, right? Once you get out of SSL, it's completely an open door. And if someone were to man in the middle you on your SSL, they have everything. So, and if you're not on SSL, every email is a completely open book. So, I think that once people realize that, I think that this might be for me, it feels like the beginning of what will be the norm in like 20 years from now, right? Because the fact that, maybe not 20, I don't know how many years, but my thought is that yes, business will be the first ones to roll it out for the enterprise, because they realize that it's, once the people really start to dig into the enterprise mail and things like that, it's just going to get worse and worse, and all this hackers and stuff like that. I just think that it's too easy to get email data. So I think that this will become more and more normal. That's my thought.
I would counter that just real quick to say that I agree that the long term will be more encryption, but it needs to get way more consumer friendly before businesses will go near it because the training involved will be way too expensive.
Right.
I really think this is going to be a convenience. It's going to make newsletters phenomenal and news groups, mailing lists. Yeah, for people in those communities, this is going to rock. But this, in its current state, will not be a consumer product, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Adopt encryption and prove me wrong.
I'm looking at a simple like when you log into Google Chrome and it says we've generated your keys, right? And now we'll sync them across all your devices.
That's a bad idea, though. You don't want Google to have your keys necessarily.
I'm saying if you trust them with everything else in your life, why not trust them with your keys? And then just export them, and then bear with me. And then one day you're like, Google's the devil, right? You pull them down, and you email everyone, and you let them know that you're changing keys, and that to reach out to you directly to get the new keys. And you get the heck off Google.
Part of this is not trusting Google with your emails because you're encrypting them end to end to prevent Google from being able to read them.
True. I see that point.
So I think if you're going to be security conscious to the point where you want to use a product like this today, you're probably not necessarily just blind trusting any corporation that operates under U.S. law where the Patriot Act applies.
Now, true. Now, isn't there? Now, I mean, this is more a conspiracy theorist. Isn't it true that if you get higher than like what is it, 256, or if you go above 256-bit encryption, you're like breaking the law in the United States or something crazy like that?
I don't.
I read that.
Show me a source for that. I don't.
Say.
Yeah. Well, no, it can't be because Google's just upgraded their SSL to 2056.
It wasn't that then. I don't know what.
2056 or 2048?
Probably 2048.
Because most SSLs when you generate the CSR has to be at least 2048. GoDaddy SSLs have to be at least 2048, but you can go to like 4096. John, I don't know if you're talking about the algorithm. Recently, SSLs they used to be 128-bit. They've recently moved up to 256 is kind of the standard. Not everything even supports 256 yet, like Java. A lot of people are running into issues and they buy a new certificate. It's a SHA-2 and Java stops working, or Safari. So I don't know about the legalities of going higher than 256, but I doubt anyone would want to go if it even exists because not everything even supports 256 yet.
Right. That's what it was. It was the bit. It was the yeah. That's what it was. I'd read somewhere a long time ago. But anyway, I just feel that this is one of those things where I think that it will become more and more normal for people to do encryption. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And yeah, Google has your data, but they've got everything else. And yeah. Come on, what can you do? All right, let's move on. I think that's actually a pretty large subject that we could probably delve into a little bit more, but this is actually kind of interesting. Speaking of trusting Google, right? And that is, and again, OMG Chrome has a great article on this. What happens to files when Google Drive Chrome offer ends? So I've got my Google Chromebook. I got the 100 gigabytes. I can't remember if I accepted it or not. I don't think I did because I realized I don't have music and movies. I don't have like a ton of stuff, so I never really jumped on board. But OMG Chrome did a really good article on that, and it was written by Joey, not you, Craig. I read the byline. I had to make sure. I was like, man, I can't do that again. James, did you get a chance to read that? Did you get a chance to read the finer points?
I didn't. I don't know if anything's changed. I know that 2 years ago when I was selling these things, it was basically when the offer ends, whatever files you have in there will stay there. If you've used 60 gigabytes of the 100, you can no longer add more stuff. But it's not like your files are going to disappear. They'll still be there. And I'm pretty sure if, let's say you use 60 gigabytes and then the offer ends and you go in there and you delete like 10 gigabytes worth of stuff, well, now you're at 50. I don't believe you can replace that 10. Once the offer is over, what you have is what you have, and unless you want to pay more money, you can't add any more stuff to the storage.
That is correct. That is correct. And also they have the thing on there about the fact that OG Chrome actually puts in there about the fact that the the price for storage is actually incredibly low. It's only $1.99 a month for 100 gigabytes and $10 a month for a mammoth 1 terabyte. So that's pretty cool. Craig, any thoughts on that? Have you ever run into that before? Have you ever been like, man, I gotta get?
Well, my promo will actually expire sometime this summer. It's been 2 years for me. That's kind of, oh my god, I'm old. Okay, midlife crisis, aborted. Okay, I will say that 30 terabytes is only $300 a month. So, you know, if you are really a movie hog, why not just upgrade to the 30 terabyte plan? You know, I actually pay for the 100 megabyte plan or 100 gigabyte plan. It's $2 a month. Come on, and I've actually only used 25 gigabytes, so I've got plenty of room, plenty of space left.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think I've only used like 6 gigabytes, and you get 15 off the jump just for having a Gmail account. So, but yeah, if you do need that storage, it's nice to have it. I tell you what. Speaking of needing the space, now this is local space, but this is the new Google Play Movies Chrome app released with offline playback. We heard about this a few weeks ago at the Intel thing. Remember that? That was nice. That was sweet. Now, if I'm not mistaken, if you own a Google Play Movie, and again, I'm not big at this, huge at this, but if you buy it, it doesn't sit in your Google Drive.
Correct.
Correct, right? Okay. And then, but if you want to watch it on your Chromebook, it does have to come down as a movie file, of course, because you can't stream when you're not online. So it's going to have to come down, but you don't actually have to have that space on your drive. You can actually own it, and then they just stream it to you when you want it.
Correct.
There you go. That's right. Craig, have you used it yet?
Yes, a lot. I wanted to test it. I own so many TV shows just because I'm a massive nerd. So I own like 4 out of the 5 seasons of Community, and that's only because season 4 wasn't great. So I've saved like a couple of my favorite episodes offline. I actually have a couple trips coming up this fall that I'm going to be on an airplane for, so it's going to be perfect. This was just in time for me. So I can't wait. I've tried the offline playback. It works pretty well. It's nice and smooth. Even on my HP 11, it was fine. So I don't know. We've been debating whether it's HD or not because on the web, Chromebooks can't play back HD because of licensing issues. I think it's like 720. It's not true 1080p as far as I can tell, but I'm pretty sure it's 720p HD, which is nicer than what the web player can provide. So I have no complaints about this. It's worked phenomenal from my experience so far.
Rockin'. James, what about yourself?
I have not yet tried the offline capabilities. I own 3 movies. One of them is Elf because they were giving it away. And then I bought 2 of the Hobbit movies because I wanted to watch them, and I figured why not just buy them instead of rent them. And that's it. That's my entire Google Play Movies collection. I have decided that I'm done buying DVDs, and that any movies I do purchase will be through Google Play. But I'm not really a big movie buyer, so haven't actually tested it out yet.
Yeah, I've got when I bought my Nexus 7 way back when, Transformers was free, and a couple of issues of Esquire, which I don't think I ever read. But yes, but I haven't tried it yet either. So I'll have to give it a go though. It seems interesting to me. Interesting. Well, I think that's awesome news. Right? Because people were really concerned about that. Now, my only question is, I'll follow this one up. 16 gigabyte SSD, should it be bumped to 32? I mean, if they're going to be offering Google Play Movies offline, should we bump up the hard disk space? I mean, those things are like 4 gig apiece. Well, if they're 720, I guess they'd be less. But James, what do you think about that? I mean, you got that. We saw that one model a couple weeks ago which was ridiculous, 500 gigabytes of RAM disk space. But I mean, do you think we should bump up?
It wouldn't be a terrible idea, I don't think. There's already been a couple, I think, Chrome OS models offering 32 gigabytes. So as long as it doesn't cause a significant price increase, because we're still going to want to keep with the SSDs, we don't want to go back to hard drives. So, but with stuff like this, with being able to download movies and music and stuff like that, I think it wouldn't be bad to see the newer models come out with 32 gigabyte options. But honestly, with the options we have for expandable storage, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of OEMs stick with 16 gigabytes for a long time. That other model is interesting though, with the 2 hard drives, 1 SSD for the operating system, and then the spinner for files. That's an interesting approach. Hard drives are so cheap these days that it kind of makes sense, especially Craig here downloading all those TV shows. Maybe he wants 500 gigabytes to carry around with this Chromebook. But the part of the point of the offline thing is not really to carry your entire collection with you everywhere. It's more like he said, when he knows he's going to travel, he'll download a season or something to watch on the airplane. So in my opinion, I don't think this is going to cause a lot of OEMs to start making larger hard drives, but it wouldn't be totally off the wall to imagine some 32 gigabyte models coming out more often.
Well, have either of you noticed your 720p has 32 gig? Is it 32 gig? Or is it yeah, it's 32.
Hold on.
Yep.
I did not notice this.
Head over to the Files app, click Downloads, and then click Settings button, the little gear, and you should say something like 25 gigs left.
Mine's 21.8 left, but yeah.
Yep. Yeah, mine's
22.1. Wow.
Yeah, there's 32.
Download all the movies.
That's right, and that model again is $300. It's $100 more than the non-touch model, but it offers the touchscreen and a 32 gigabyte hard drive. So that's something to consider. So, but you know what? Plug for next week, review week, right? All three of us got our hands on the 720p. Review time, right? What do you guys say? You down? Let's do it. All right.
Sure.
Next week, not this week. Next week. All right. Speaking of Chromebooks, the Rockchip RK3288 Chromebook. Now, Chrome Story had this on there. Chromestory.com. Interesting article. Weird little video. It's weird. Craig, have you had a chance to read the article? What's your major takeaways from this? Because to me, I was like, what?
I think I'm not sold on it yet. I really don't understand what's going on. I feel like this is more of a demo experiment than like a retail Chromebook that's being announced. Just because we haven't really seen like a press release or any sort of like formal announcement. The article says that the team is planning to bring this Chromebook to market in Q3.
Right.
But I don't know. It's kind of weird. We have seen a lot of strange OEMs show up lately. There's that CTL that was announced at the Intel event that we're making a quote-unquote experimental Chromebook that basically just looks like a cookie-cutter Chromebook. And then there's another one too. I forget what they're called. But there's a couple like little OEMs that have just shown up with a Chromebook out of nowhere. And I don't know if maybe Google is kind of... I really don't understand at all. I feel like this is something that Google's not going to talk about because it's part of some big strategy, but it's weird. I don't know if they're playing the cost card or if they're just making sure that their ducks are in a row in case one of these companies explodes overnight. I don't really understand, but I'm not going to say no to more Chromebooks.
Yeah, that one company, and I wish I had the notes in front of me. That one company is wild. I can't remember the name of it, but it's called something like, darn, I can't remember. We don't have it up. I should have saved those because you actually found the link where someone was releasing the information, and Brent had just found the information too, and he had the person had both links, one for CTL and one for that other company, Hexa. That's what it is.
Yes, yes.
Hexa.
Hexa. And these are not like name brand OEMs. These are small companies, relatively small. I mean, they're not even like Acer, which is, foreign. These are just kind of small manufacturers. So it's weird. Maybe they're making like demo models that Google's giving away in like pilot tests. I have no idea.
Yeah. I found the one company, but that's not it. It's a different company. It was Hexa something, though. It wasn't HexaWare. HexaWare is actually... They work actually in what I do. That's a different company. That works with EPM software. Anyway, so yeah, that's the rock chip, and yeah, there are some weird manufacturers coming down the line. Craig, I agree with you. It is just there's something going on. There's rumblings. There's new OEMs. There's small shops that are coming out with these. I mean, maybe it's going to be the ones that launch their companies, right? Maybe it's going to be the one that they're going to be able to sell a bajillion of them because they're priced right. They're working with Google. They do make the comment on here really quickly about the OEM on a stick. Now, just for those who have never done this before or don't know what that means, but the USB stick, right, a thumb drive, right? We've all seen them a bajillion times. You can actually do this with an SD card as well, but you've got right. There's one from advertising for Micro Center. We get it free one day when I walked in. These little drives, you can mount them just like a CD, so you can actually burn an ISO, an image of an operating system, on one of these, then plug it into a computer, and as long as the motherboard will support it, which as long as it's built after like 2008, it will. It'll boot directly from the USB stick. So, and they're saying that they actually have this, and that's not something that we've seen yet. We haven't seen Chrome OS bootable from a stick. We've seen Chromium OS, but I haven't heard of anybody coming up with Chrome OS bootable yet from a stick. So that's actually kind of interesting. And like Denson actually says, this is a big thing for Chromies, which it is. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, next up. By the way, we're probably running long. That's all right. Unless you guys are concerned. We still have a few more things to go through. I think we're getting into apps after this last story. Yes. So this last story in the news is that VLC. Now, for people that don't know about VLC, VLC is a really, really cool multimedia player application for across platforms, right? Every platform allows it. It's even on Android now. And this is like, it says, it describes it as a Swiss Army knife of video players, and that's exactly what it is. But they're going to support Chromecast, which I think is like super awesome. Craig, do you use VLC at all on your Linux journeys?
I use it on my Windows box.
Yeah?
Yeah, it plays everything you can imagine to throw at it.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that if I just picked up an old 1980s Betamax tape or something and just threw it at my screen, it would figure out how to play it.
VLC, exactly. I'm with you.
You would never throw anything at that beautiful display.
I would, James, for science.
For science. It's for science. I like that. That's good. Yes, VLC. I use it as well. It's much better than some of your built-in, whether that be QuickTime or whether that be Windows Media Player. VLC is much more compact. It can play anything. It has all the codecs, or if it doesn't have them, it'll tell you where to get them from. It is the bomb, and for it to have Chromecast support is just really cool. They do say the desktop is later, but the fact that it's coming, it's just the bomb. So if you're a lover of VLC and you have Chromecast, it's on its way. James, you're a VLC user at all?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I haven't played a video on a Windows machine in years, so I'm not even sure what VLC is. Windows Media Player was still cool last time I played a video on a Windows machine.
I got you.
It was actually cool. Like it had the cool video thing going on in the background when you were listening to music, and I used to just stare at it and just daze off. I was like 12 or something, but so I don't even know. I don't know what VLC is. Everyone seems to be raving about it. It's pretty awesome. So it's only can only be good.
Yep, and I've actually got it up on the screen now too, and I'll add this link to the show notes. Again, everybody, if you're watching the show, all of our links, all of our news articles that we have are going to be in the show notes. So if you want to read them, dive a little bit deeper. But I have the videoland.org website up. So if you've seen this traffic cone, which is their logo, and their icon as well, if you use this video player, Chromecast Sport coming, which is awesome.
And a quick call to arms. There is a thread on the Videoland forums for Chrome OS interest for a port of VLC to Chrome OS. The team has said in the past, no, it's impossible, but that was in like 2010. So there's been some time. Adrian from the community, a moderator on the Google Plus Chromebooks community, brought this to our attention the other day. The thread will be in the show notes. I will make it bold. If you've got 5 minutes and you feel like being an internet troll, this is a perfect opportunity to hone your skills. We need all of the show of support we can get.
There you go. Thanks, Craig. We'll definitely pop that in there. So yeah, awesome. Love it. Now we're gonna get into the other section of the show called Login. Just a couple apps. Craig, you mentioned one. Another one is one I've been getting more and more into the whole music thing, right? The whole Google Music, which I wasn't into before. But there's this my daughters like to listen to some songs, and I've now started to like listening to them. And so there's this thing called Bubbles. Have you guys heard of Music Bubbles? It is the coolest little app ever. When it comes to, I don't know why it's not on this Windows machine, but that's a poop, because it's really cool, because it actually uses JavaScript to put the player controls on every web page you're on. So that way, when you're floating around, and Chrome Story's got this really good article about it. This logo here, this little thing, kind of sticks around on your screen at all times. I'm not sure why it's not on this computer, but anyway, and it dims, and so what you do is you start up Google Music, right? Music.google.com, and you start playing your song. This thing immediately knows that you have the music.google.com website in one of your tabs open, and then that JavaScript follows along in every single tab that's open and allows you to pause. You can move the little icons around, so you can basically control your music while you're surfing the web without having to go to a different tab, right? Or using a different app. So it's just really cool. I thought it was really cool. Dinsan does a really good article on it, so definitely check that out, everybody. It's a really cool little app. I'm not sure why it's not working, but I know I installed it. Let's see if I can go to the page real quick and do that. Do you guys use any other, like James? I know that you're into the music. Do you use any other use any other extensions that work with music?
No, I just use the regular old app. Pretty boring, I guess.
Let me see what happens if I bring it up. So if I bring up music, please don't laugh at my library. Okay, so let's say if I were to play this song here. I've got it muted, so it won't do anything. Okay, there it is. Cool. There it is. I made an error. Okay, so let's say if I go back to the article. Now you can see this little, and I'm showing my screen now on the video cast, but you guys will have to click the screen. But there's this little bubble, and when I mouse over it, it gives me the album art and the, you can see there. See, can you kind of see that? It's hard to see, but there's the album art. You have, next track, pause. You've got you got a thumb up, thumbs down icons. You can see how long the track is because it's just going around like a clock to show you the track playing. It's very well done. And then if you hold down the click and then you click it, you can actually move it around anywhere on the web page. And this will now then move around wherever you want it. And then when you go to another website, like if I let it go there, and then I go to the next article that we're going to look at, that's not there on that one, but there it's now in the same spot. So it's very cool. I thought it was a really good find that Inside found, and I thought that was really neat. And again, you can completely control. I can hit stop, I can hit play, I can hit the next song. There was one, but yeah. So very cool, very very cool. So that's kind of my like little pick. Craig, you had an interesting one. Let's see if I can find it here. If I can find it, did I have it? Oh yeah, the see what your app's extensions have been doing. Chrome app, the one that kind of shows you. I don't know if you had a chance to crack it open or not, but the one that it's the Chrome extension that it's basically the Chrome apps and extension developer tool. Craig, do you remember that?
Yeah, thanks for the reminder. It was just earlier today, and I've already lost it.
It was.
So this is just an update to the Chrome Apps and Extensions developer tool, which a lot of people have installed for some reason. Maybe you've got it installed. You should probably check. But basically, the update allows you to view what actions your other apps and extensions have been doing in the background, which is perfect for doing a little bit of auditing to see, oh, I installed this extension and it asked for a lot of permissions. I'm going to let it sit for an hour and make sure it's not doing anything I wouldn't approve of. For the average user, I don't see this being very beneficial. For the type of user that would sit down and audit all of their extensions, this is basically amazing. I do expect a few people to probably find some apps that are misbehaving and make a big fuss about it, and at least one or two apps will probably end up being publicly shamed for their behavior, which we previously would not have known about. So I'm looking forward to that. So it's a really fantastic little feature, though. It's not something I ever would have asked for because I didn't really even think about it, but I'm really glad that the team thought about it and went ahead and stuffed it in an update.
Yep, and actually I've got it up on the screen right now, and you can see these are my extensions that I currently have installed, and I'm actually going to bring up one that I wanted to talk about, but I think we're going to have to probably cut it short. But this was one, it's the favorite posts for G+. And then what this does is this allows you to actually favorite posts, and then it actually adds a menu item to your G+ menus to like, click on your favorites and then see all of your favorite posts. It's pretty wicked, and it's really neat. But if I click behavior, I can actually see the privacy-related history, all recent history, and what it's been doing on my system. Right, so it can see it modified a website, and this was the community's website that I was on, the Hangouts. So it basically, because it had to modify, right, because it's making JavaScript changes to add its buttons to that website. So that's what it's kind of showing you. So it's really cool tool. I mean, I know it's part of a larger tool set, but it's just really cool how you can see all that stuff going on. And you can even hit real time and see it working. So that is pretty rocking. So thanks, Craig, for that. So real quick, I'll now mention it because it did come up. But the favorite, so it's called favorite post for Google+, right? And again, if you're looking at my screen, you can see it. And if I go to G+, like that, thusly, where there's me. Look, there's James. He made a post. And then if I click on home or just mouse over it, see the favorites? Now, believe it or not, I haven't favorited any. But let's say I were to favorite James. Let me close this Hangout thingy. If I favorite one of James here, boop. Now I've favorited it, right? And that's not a normal button in G+. But if I go back up here and I go to favorites, there's James's post. So that way, like let's say, and this kind of came about because there was a thread out there about the fact that Google has not done the best of jobs in the fact that some people use G+ as a way to communicate with people, like kind of like email, right? But you lose these posts. They just because you're not going to go into your history and then scan through everything or look up their name and maybe find it or not between the posts between you two, or maybe it was just difficult for some people. I don't know, but I thought this was a great idea. That way you could favorite a post. And then you could unfavorite it later if you wanted to. But this all it does is add a few buttons using some JavaScript, and have a list of these posts. It's really cool. So definitely check it out. It's a really cool little app out there. Again, it's free and it's really well done. So I endorse it. I like it. I thought it was pretty cool. And then last on our we didn't get a chance. This is what I wanted to talk about last week because this was actually going into one of our Q&A sessions, and we talked about the person talked about the fact that the screen dimming was and Craig came up with the fact that he uses an app called was it Flux that you used or was the other one, Craig?
Well, on Android, I have no idea. On Windows, it's Flux.
Right.
On Android, I think it's just Lux.
Lux, right. And someone made a G-Lux. Now, you do have to manually adjust. It doesn't actually use the time of day to adjust it. You have to adjust it manually to give you that sepia tone as the day gets longer. But I wanted to bring this up just because it is available. You can see from this screenshot here how it will actually make it a little more sepia, less bright, and in your face, all the whites aren't really like pounding at your corneas as the day gets later, and giving you eye strain. So that was kind of just to follow up on that one.
Be warned, that will carry over into your Windows Chrome sometimes.
Okay.
I the app to my Chromebook, and then at work, some pages would be orange and other pages weren't. I couldn't figure out exactly what was going on there, but I just ended up removing the extension because it's kind of annoying anyways having to set it manually.
Right.
I'll probably wait and see if it gets the feature like Glux and Lux where it just kind of gradually does it for you before I re-add the extension. But just be warned, if your Windows or Mac starts turning orange or blue sometimes, it's probably because you added this extension on your Chromebook.
I gotcha. I'm with you. All right. And now again, we're running very late. But that's okay. This was kind of like a news episode. but what I want to do is really quickly is go over support. Right, the whole point of the show, right? The name of the show. In the main section, we're going to talk about support and Google Chrome and Chrome OS. I didn't want to do just a series of links, but because we are running pretty late, we're probably going to do a couple links, just show you what they look like. And first, I want to start off though with Craig's. I'll start with you. Where do you first go for support? Now, what's Craig?
His own brain.
Craig Tumblison. I know that he does have the noggin. He's got the noggin just throbbing with data, right? But where do you go?
Well, let's see. Last Tuesday when my Chromebook wouldn't turn on, I called my senator first. Just make them aware of the issue, because they can't fix anything unless they're aware of it. But to answer what you're alluding to, the product forum. Obviously the product forum. This is the official community that Google sets up with a couple employees and a whole lot of volunteers that spend their time answering any question that you have about your Chrome device. And there are others for all of the other Google services, but specific to Chromebooks, it's called Chromebook Central. And John, you're going to share the link. And it's a fantastic community to be part of. And just to plug it, if you're the type of person that wants to get involved in Chrome, specifically Chrome OS, and you're not a developer, maybe you're not a writer, and you're just looking for a way to give back, go there. Go to this community, answer questions. A lot of the questions are common questions. They're basic questions that people might have the moment they open it up and they just need to know how to get started. So they're not necessarily complicated. Some of them get a little interesting, but really, just all hands on deck. Anybody, it doesn't matter how savvy you are, you can probably lend a hand. And there are some perks, but just go and get started and you'll find out about those later on.
All right, I'm right there with you. That is the that is of course the I've got it up here, Chromebook Central, and I know that James and I as well also do our best to get in there, and Craig of course is now a very highly sought after man on that forum. He's his answers are some of the bombest out there, and James and I do our best. We do our best, but and we're getting there. We're getting there. But I think, Craig, your point about that was the fact that a lot of the general questions are pretty straightforward, right? There's just someone that cracked open their Chromebook, and they're like, whoa, right? And if you can answer the question, it's actually pretty simple just to make yourself a member and then just answer the question. So I think it definitely helps everybody. One of the things about Chromebooks and just a real quick side note, is about the fact that when I first got a Chromebook, And when I first started getting into Chrome OS, the communities was one of the first things that jumped out at me, because it's like, almost like a Linux community where like everybody really does enjoy the device, enjoy the OS, and the fact that the developers are literally, they have skin in the game. They're right inside there, talking to everybody, discussing things, talking to everybody. It's an open forum, right? So this is one of those great pieces of it. Is we're going to talk about support, but we're also going to talk about the people. And I think that the Chromebook Central is one of those places where the people make the big difference. And Google's actually doing a push to get more people and make sure that these forums are filled up with people that are knowledgeable and that want to help everybody, right? So it's really, really cool. So that is definitely one of the places. James, what about you, sir? Do you have a specific spot out there on the web that you go, I need to know how to do this? Let me find out where to get that done.
Besides my hangout with Craig, I often will go to, honestly, I usually just go to Google because it's easier, and 99% of the times I end up on the product forum, which is one of the biggest advantages of the product forum, is when you go ask a question, you might think it's a silly question, you don't really want to go to the public forum, but do it, because when you ask a question and somebody answers it, the next person who has that question, they Google it, they're probably going to find your thread, and they're going to find out the answer pretty quickly. And the top contributors are pretty good about marking certain answers as being the best answer, so that when you do Google a question and you come across that thread, the first answer you will see is 9 out of 10 times the best, most informative answer. So I just Google it, and 99% of the time it takes me to the product forum if I'm Googling a Google related issue, Chrome OS or Chrome or something. So otherwise, I do like to hop into the Google Plus forum, Google Plus community, just because I'm in there all the time. It's kind of my natural go-to. But I try to not always bring my issues there, because it's a community and people are usually talking about fun stuff, and I don't always want to bring them down with my issues, so I try to stick with the forums when I can. But they are very helpful. No one's ever told me to take my issues to the forum, take it away from the community. They're very friendly and helpful in those communities. So I don't want to give people a wrong impression about the Google Plus communities.
No, I think and that's one of the things I was saying, is that the communities, this forum is really one of the communities. I mean, it might be a Google product site, and it might be sponsored by Google heavily, but it's still a community of people, really. Like Craig said, it's just a handful of employees and a forum, and then it's the rest of it's us, right? Answering the questions, marking them as the best answer, things like that. So it's really a community-driven thing, as well as then there's the G Plus communities, which are moderated sometimes by no one from Google, sometimes just another person that really enjoys it. Look, there are some that are, like we all know, but some of the ones are moderated by some really great folks. But the point is that these communities are really great, and they're usually even the one by Google it might be moderated by Google employees, but it really is very helpful, and it's really cool. Now there's two other areas now. Of course, I'm going to bring this up on the screen, is Google.com, www. Right, which will end up sending you to Chromebook Central, or one of the G Plus communities with the same question. So that's kind of my first go-to. But I did want to discuss also the support.google.com /Chromebook. Right, so that's going to give you the getting started guide. It's got all the how to do certain things like personalize, manage your apps, connect your Chromebook. Be sure to check that out as well. As well as also contacting a Ninja. If you've got something like Terrible, if you've exhausted everything else, a Ninja is also something that you can do, where it's going to be you literally interacting directly with someone very, very knowledgeable, and that can help you out. So definitely check out the Ninja as well. Finally, and I don't think this is going to work on this Windows machine that I broadcast from, the display from, but no, it's not on there. Okay, so it's not on the apps. But if you're on a Chromebook, if you type search and you just type in the word help, you're going to see an app logo that looks like it's a green box with a question mark on it, and this is going to open the it's kind of like the Get Started, but it's not as flashy. But it's got all of the same stuff that the website has, where it talks about how to do certain things, personalization, getting online. If you're new to your Chromebook, it actually will launch the tour from there, which is the one that you got when you first got your Chromebook. So, and if you haven't taken the tour yet when it comes to a Chromebook, definitely take it. I think that that's a big thing that you need to do. It only takes like maybe 5 minutes, 10 tops, if you're the type to go slow and really like look at the thing, and then look at the buttons and kind of get into it, go really deep. But that's another thing is, again, search and then type in the word help and look for that green square with a question mark in it. That is actually pretty darn stellar. So so that's it. That's it for the help stuff. James, Craig, do you guys have anything you might want to add to that? No, shaking head. James says no.
I think it's public news now. Because of the screen you had up, John. It's not actually going to be ninjas for much longer. They're just agents now.
Oh, there's agents? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's public. It does say Chromebook agents.
It does say Chromebook agents. You're absolutely right.
Lame.
I think it's more accessible, to be honest. Ninjas are kind of, they're confusing to anybody over 25.
And really, if you're a pirate, then you're really upset.
It's actually the second time they've done this. They used to call the people what they now call Google specialists who sold Chromebooks at Best Buy. They used to call them Chrome Ninjas, and then they changed them to Google specialists like 2 years ago. And now we got these Chrome Ninjas. Somebody in Google just wants to call something ninjas, and someone else is like, no. And I think we're seeing who's winning.
When the marketing team sees something like the word ninjas over and over nearing it in search results, they're like, stop it. We got to put an end to that right away, because that's not going to be marketable to everybody. I'm with you. I'm with you, Craig, James. I'm with both of you guys. I think ninjas was cool, but Craig, I totally agree that you can't use ninja. Yeah, and again, if you're a pirate, you're definitely not going to trust a ninja. But anyway, have you guys ever seen that whole pirate versus ninja thing? It's awesome. Anyway, so those are the places that I would go. And that's kind of it, guys. That's all I have for this episode. James, Craig, thanks again for being on. And James, where can people find Mr. Welbes throughout the week? What have you been doing, man?
Well, recently you can find me in the Google product forums. I've been trying, like you said, I'm out there. I'm trying to answer some questions. So you can find me there in the Chrome OS. Also the Google Plus, googleplus.com/James Welbes, I think. I don't know. That's how it typically works, right? It's just your name. And then, of course, at tech.itiswhatitis.biz.
Word. And Craig, what about you, sir?
You can find me on Google+, the product forums, or chromeup.com. And if you happen to be looking to download one of those 60 new photos that Google published in the Chrome OS wallpaper picker, go to ChromeUp. I spent hours, but they're up and ready for download now.
I like it. I like it a lot. We're definitely gonna be hitting Chrome Up next week when we look at the 720p, because I had forgotten about that hard drive thing. I was like, wait a minute. So I did the same thing that James just did. I was like, wait, let me do, and get the settings and be like, that's right, it does have a big hard drive. So yeah, we'll definitely be looking at that. Of course, my name is John Oliphant. You can find me on the G Plus under my real name, John Oliphant, as well as Practical Chrome can be found pretty much anywhere that I can slap the media up on the web, anywhere and everywhere that I can slap it up there, because Practical Chrome is my baby, and you can find us here every Tuesday night at 10:10, right? And then, of course, within a couple of days, we'll release the MP3. There's also a YouTube channel. But to find all of that, definitely head to practicalchrome.com, which is the website, and we'll have this episode live available to you. Again, within the next couple of days. Of course, there's also a feed, so you can grab it for your podcasting app. We are featured on iTunes, Player FM, TuneIn.com. We're on them all. I tried my best to get all of them in there. If you do have iTunes, definitely give us a rating, good or ill, right? I'm not asking for a for a not a good, not an untruthworthy rating, but give us a good rating or a rating and let everybody know what you think. Because the more people that do it on iTunes, iTunes is kind of like the standard bearer when it comes to podcasts. So definitely rate us down there, and any of the others too. But definitely let us know how we're doing. Definitely send feedback. You can send feedback to john@practicalchrome.com, or hit us up on the G+. So that's pretty much it for the show. I don't know who's up for any after hours. I don't know. It's up to you guys. It's getting pretty late. I did have some things I want to rant about, but that I can wait. I think it's a little too late. It's a little too late for it.
I'm gonna have to jet.
I got you. Craig, what about you, sir?
Probably not tonight, John.
I got you. All right. Well, and that's it for the show. Again, thanks, guys, for coming on. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Au revoir.
Bye, guys.